There's a lot of talk in WWE about the proverbial brass ring, of an opportunity left dangling temptingly within reach if only you were to dare enough to stretch out your arm and grasp it firmly in one hand. And then suddenly you'd be on the ladder straight to the top. You'd have something in hand more valuable than the money in the bank contract, no longer waiting for the push, but now flying forward, the very top spot coming ever closer as you continue your unfaltering inertia. But if you ask wrestlers like Rusev, or Miro as he goes by in AEW, you realise that in the way of that brass ring is a glass ceiling, and this one isn't made out of sugar glass like the barbershop windows WWE usually uses. But this is the story of someone who did manage to bust through and grab that brass ring. It's the tale of a hard-working everyman who refused to be pigeonholed, someone born aloft on a wave of fan support and unicorn wings. A story that made history in a company traditionally slow to change, and perhaps, as we'll find out, not all the way there yet. I'm Laurie, hailing from partsFUNknown, and this is KofiMania Explained. Before we crack on with the episode though, please do consider giving us a subscribe so you never miss content like this, or you can support us on patreon.com/partsFUNknown for awesome rewards and early access to all future videos. Heading into WrestleMania season in 2019, there was nothing to suggest Kofi Kingston, of all people, would be vying for the WWE Championship come the showcase of the Immortals, because New Day had failed to win the SmackDown tag straps from the bar at TLC and all been eliminated during the course of the Royal Rumble, so I think it's safe to say that as far as most fans, and definitely WWE were concerned, Kingston was a mid-carder for life. Kingston's WWE career started with a developmental deal in 2006. He was assigned to Deep South Wrestling and sister promotion Ohio Valley before moving over to Florida Championship Wrestling, all the while sporting a faux Jamaican accent picked up after being told in training that Vince was really into characters, and Kofi was listening to a Damian Marley CD and thought, I'll have a bash at that.
Looks like there's some trouble in paradise.
And then when he debuted for the ECW brand in 2008, he was touted as the first Jamaican superstar to wrestle for WWE. Now he wasn't, he doesn't actually have any Jamaican heritage, but he is the first African-born WWE superstar with his Ghanaian roots. Now this Jafaican was rumbled after dropping the accent after just over a year on Raw, and was eventually billed from Ghana.
Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican? What happened to your accent?
While his Marley mimicry may have been less than successful, Kofi's actually been incredibly successful during his WWE tenure, accruing a championship haul that includes 4 intercontinental title runs, 3 US championships, and 13 different tag team title reigns, including a record 10 with the New Day. But that brass ring, the very pinnacle of WWE, remained sealed off until a chance occurrence showed a crack in the glass ceiling. Because heading into Elimination Chamber in 2019, Mustafa Ali had to be pulled from the match due to injury, so it was revealed that one member of the New Day would be taking his place. And in steps Kofi, the veteran of the group, but a guy who would not lay down without a fight. So a gauntlet match was set up on SmackDown to determine who would get the coveted final entry in the Elimination Chamber, and a hefty advantage. Now Kofi is an underdog, and there was no way he was getting that advantage at the event or in this match, because he starts things out with the reigning WWE Champion Daniel Bryan, and they tear things up for 30 minutes as Bryan's red-bearded insurance policy made his payout, interfering at every turn. Kofi then gets through Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe before eventually losing to AJ Styles after an hour in the ring. But in that loss was a glimmer of potential, an image planted in the mind of every fan, a shimmer of a brass ring just within reach.
Kofi got all of it! Cover! Kofi advances in the gauntlet!
The roar of the crowd as Kofi bested WWE legends and the frankly terrifying Samoa Joe in a fill-in performance was the kind of noise management couldn't ignore, or shouldn't ignore. They definitely would and have ignored this sort of thing before. Thankfully, at Elimination Chamber, Kofi lasted until the final 2 before ultimately being bested by Daniel Bryan himself, who retained his lovely eco-friendly compost ship. But that cemented it. That brass ring was now clear as day for Kofi and the fans. And WWE got to do their very favourite thing. Make money selling us a bit of old rope. You like the Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 storyline? Well, here it is again. Only this time, right? Bryan, right? He's the villain. Genius. Genius. But because history repeats and this was about as planned as Bryan's underdog tale, i.e. not at f***ing all, thank you Road Dogg, WWE had to cram an 11-year story that they could have been telling into 2 months. And somehow they still struggle to fill that. Because Kofi was long-serving, hard-working, and had won people over in the gauntlet and the chamber. People were like, put the title on him already. Who's going to get the shot at Fastlane? And the company's like, Kevin Owens. It's a classic Vince McMahon swerve to bump his preferred candidate up the queue. It's kind of art imitating life and all that. But when Owens falls short of Fastlane, Kofi was still a shoo-in, so to prove he wasn't a B+ player, as Vince put it, which is another echo of Bryan, he would have to win another gauntlet for a one-on-one chance with D-Bry. He just wasn't expecting that one-on-one chance to come at the end of the gauntlet after he just beat 5 guys. So here we have the story of a company telling this guy that even if he proves himself good enough to be the champ, he won't be the champ in their eyes. And not only that, but they won't even permit him to get there in the first place. And that's the same thing they told a scruffy-haired, scraggly-bearded Bryan back in the day. But a more important dimension to it is it's what they told the likes of Booker T with all the thinly veiled racism they could muster.
Somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion.
Which was obviously totally kayfabe and a ploy to get heel heat. But the worst heat always has this ring of truth to it, because somebody like Booker didn't get to be the champ in WWE at that point. Triple H called him out for his hair and said he was only there to dance and entertain people like Trips and Evolution. They stoked the flames of racial tension just so that Triple H could retain at WrestleMania 19. Because the promo and the build were either gobsmackingly unwitting and insensitive on Triple H's part, or a purposeful stride right over the line to engender that sort of heat that probably deserves a kind of cathartic, karmic payoff, which we didn't get. But this is the thing, there's that ring of truth. Black characters in WWE were expected to act a certain way, as the New Day themselves said of their own gimmick. We don't want to sing and dance, because for African American athletes, you're either singing and dancing, you're the big strong black guy, or the foreign black guy. Those are the 3 archetypes. So it's kind of no wonder that they called the gospel preacher stereotype they were stuck with in the early going the complete opposite of what we wanted to do. So the New Day turned it around. They made their characters enhanced versions of who they are. Anime and gaming nerds who are really bloody good at the old wrestling. Xavier Woods just needs to get some Golden Girls gear on the go and he will single-handedly become a pop culture pocket universe in WWE. This is an important move in getting away from the stereotypes that WWE historically has had people play up, which are usually negative ones like the militant Black Power parody of the Nation of Domination to thugs in Crime Time, which for younger fans was something difficult to reconcile, as SP3 from True Heel Heat told me when I spoke to him.
When I was introduced to Harlem Heat was kind of wearing like the fire getup, and I grew up in Harlem. So I was like, oh, these guys represent me and where I'm from. So I was a big Harlem Heat fan, and I was just in love with them. It wasn't until I was older and then looking back and they're talking about, oh, where's the neck bones at the wedding and stuff. And it's just like, it's kind of cringe to kind of look back on, but at the time, being a kid, you don't understand, like, they're feeding into kind of stereotypes of who you are and what they think the black struggle is all about.
Stevie Ray, big strong man, and you got Booker T, phenomenal athlete.
So I think that's been like the main thing, whether it's WCW or WWE, it's never been us writing for us. It's always been, someone that's trying to understand how we talk, how we struggle, how we grow up, our type of lifestyle. They're trying to write for us and try to understand that when they never could.
And this isn't just a wrestling issue, obviously. Studies have been done into African American portrayals on television in the US for many years. Like one from the US Commission of Civil Rights in 1977 that found the typically depicted personalities of African Americans were, quote, inferior, stupid, comical, immoral, and dishonest. Now, multiple studies since have sadly concluded similar results. Yuji Fujioka's 1999 examination of television effects said that media portrayals, either positive or negative, greatly influence viewers' stereotypes of African Americans, especially so when first-hand knowledge is not present, i.e., you don't know anyone who's African American. A study titled The Perceived Realism of African American Portrayals on Television by Narisra Punyanant Carter in 2008 found that viewers, and then you drape the veil of kayfabe over that, where people actually do think it is real, and suddenly these depictions have the potential to become incredibly damaging. And some of the other effects are unexpected, as YouTuber and trainee wrestler Muscle Man Malcolm told me when I spoke to him about it.
To see like those kind of characters come out, it kind of forces you to kind of not see everyone's color and whatnot, and kind of just get invested in a character, which is good, but also is bad, because like if you only invest in a character, what happens that if all the characters that you invest yourself into happen to only be white?
So Kofi's presentation going into the feud with Bryan had a lot riding on it. There were layers of history stacked on top of this simple underdog story. And I guess that's the thing, because even just going out there and being yourself and winning the championship in this context is changing the game, because it is literally changing perceptions. It's not hard to see how powerful a moment it was when Kofi pinned Bryan after overcoming all the odds, enduring the beatdowns and course correcting from swerve after swerve. The New Day had earned this moment. And to their credit, WWE actually did it right.
With Kofi Kingston and an F5!
At the moment that Kofi won. Not only managing to deliver a fan favourite guy to the top of the card at exactly the right moment, but they skirted around their tricky history, letting the unspoken context add an extra emotional weight that I think was felt by all. As AEW star Pineapple Pete told our very own Louis Dangoor.
Whether you're like a black performer or a black male or just a black person in general, if you're a fan of hard work, if you're a fan of somebody finally getting theirs after a long time, if you're a fan of circumstance where it shouldn't have been you, but you got to run with that anyway, I don't see how that story, that match, everything doesn't resonate with you.
It was just so much pride in seeing someone achieve their dream that looked like us, that had that diversity. And I think that's kind of what the storyline feed into. It feed into a history of WWE kind of pushing back and not being able to push people that look like me. And to have that moment, it meant so much because it was at WrestleMania. It was at the biggest stage possible. And you felt the emotion from not only Kofi, from Xavier, from Big E, seeing his kids in the ring. It was so much to tell you that, even if you're a little kid, you're 8 years old, you look like me, you're African American, you can achieve your goal, you can achieve your dream.
And there's a lasting impact to that kind of representation. Malcolm told me that it's a huge motivating factor for him as a trainee wrestler because it has raised the ceiling of what's possible.
When I come home, I have like this giant poster of like Kofi that's in my dorm room of him with a championship. So I come back from training like, man, my back really hurts. Everything really hurts. But you know what? That guy that looks like me, he put in the work and see what happened to him.
And sure, we can all bicker in the comments over who actually did it first and whether a heavyweight championship has the same historic weight as a WWE championship, or if it happened in WCW, did it actually happen at all, or is The Rock being claimed by Samoa or not? But to paraphrase the great one, it doesn't matter. Well, at least maybe it doesn't matter, because the KofiMania phenomenon feels like it's about a feeling. Feeling seen, feeling heard, and feeling represented. The feeling that this was an important moment in wrestling history, whether or not WWE actually bothered to treat it like it was once it came to an end that was frankly quite disrespectful.
Here's the cover! We got a new champion!
As Pineapple Pete, Malcolm and SP3 all said, it doesn't matter who you are. This was one of those rare wrestling stories that it felt like everyone could find something to like about. Everyone could see a little bit of themselves in it, whether you see yourself as an underdog, a long-serving, loyal employee, or you see the hopeful beginnings of a much larger shift.
It just felt like anytime a group of black guys were together, they were always compared to the Nation of Domination, because the Nation of Domination was a heightened, blown up version of what they thought the African American struggle was. But when the New Day made that transition from being the kind of the Baptist church group into being realized characters themselves turned up to 10, that's when the presentation of African Americans really changed for me in the entire spectrum of WWE. They didn't want to fit inside that WWE bubble. They wanted you to remember that there's a world outside of WWE, and that changed everything for them. And in a result, it changed everything for every black character after that, it seems like.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed the insights, then please do give SP3's True Heel Heat and Muscle Man Malcolm a follow on YouTube and social media. The guys really kindly gave their time to talk to me for this video, and they do amazing work, which I know that you're going to enjoy, so all the details are in the video description. And like I said earlier, the very best way to support us on partsFUNknown is on Patreon, patreon.com/partsFUNknown, and at all the different tiers, you get ace rewards like early access to all the videos, a fan QuizzleMania, and you can even get your name read out in the videos themselves, like these lovely $25 backers. Brandon Sayers, Bryant Heath, Bryce Williams, Christian Womble, Dan Corral, Daniel, the Mayor of Painesville Schachtmeyer, Daniel Bridger, Death Envoy, Glenn Dallas, Joe Meyer, John Molden, Julio Trejo, Kyle Brazel, Max Wallen, Soren Nord, Sean Furlong, Stephen Mazzafaro, you've messed it up there, Stephen Mazzafaro, Terry Hankemer, Tim Dakumar, and Vincent Garcia. So thanks again for watching. The good news is that Explained is moving to a monthly series on PFK from now on, so look out for it in the new year. And in the meantime, please enjoy these other videos in the series. I'll see you later. Jam that jam.